Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Day number 2 here of week 3 for PEL Phase 3, and we are getting into the thick of it once again. We have, from yesterday, TSM being able to rocket up the table even more so than previously, than ever before, and now they find themselves in a strong, commanding position. Welcome to the desk. My name is Kylaris, and to my left-hand side, I have Froz and I have Avenger. Gentlemen, we've been busy bees, busy boys, but we're back here at PEL Phase 3 once again to bring you all the PUBG action.
All of the action.
All of the action.
I thought that was when you go to the casters.
You know, so I thought I'd mix it up a little bit.
Okay.
You know, kind of throw you a curveball.
Ah, I didn't handle it well.
No, you didn't.
Well, we did have TSM having a wonderful day yesterday.
Yeah.
They broke the new score record for one day, which is 65 points now. And that with only one win. And we also actually had NIP. They were on the verge of breaking as well. They got 54, so it's a pretty good days for those two teams, I'd say.
A massive jump for NIP yesterday, and they really needed that. They're kind of in the danger zone, and to put themselves up there in just one day, I want to see that continue. I want to see them continue kind of moving forward. Otherwise, they're not going to be within distance of being able to reach that top 6, which is the PGC spots.
Yeah, very important. I guess you argue, even more important for NIP than TSM, considering TSM was already kind of in that top 5 position, etc. For them to be able to push themselves up, it's a big bonus so far, but of course they're going to have to hold on to that position as we do continue on. Let's look at the overall standings, of course, here for today, as we have all of our top 5. It's the previous top 5 from our Phase 2, and they have been looking strong. And in fact, ladies and gentlemen, me and the boys, we've had a deliberation, and we have decided, we have confirmed that this top 5, they are officially, currently, the big 5 of Europe. And this is important because these 5 teams, throughout the past 2 phases, have been so dominant that we have now called them the Big 5. Very, very important.
They have been named.
They have been named.
They've always been standing out to not just us, but for you at home as well.
Yes.
And we're not talking about, they might not always be the team who always qualifies to everything, but at the same time, these are the Big 5 that always make it. They always show us the good stuff. These are the big names. These are the ones you want to watch.
Last phase, those 5 teams nearly won or close won to 40% of the game.
Yeah.
Of all the 96 games. It was extremely impressive considering we have 16 teams in our lobby. So then being able to do that really talks to how consistent they've been able to be and how many kills they've been able to push out as well.
Yes. So if we're referring to the Big 5, ladies and gentlemen, from now on, now you know, because those names have been absolutely synonymous with excellence here in PUBG Phase 2 and Phase 3 for a lot of Phase 1 as well. But of course, there was big differences there as things did continue on.
Also, talking about the Big 5, they're actually the current 5 that will make it to PGC with the addition of Knights at the moment.
Right.
But at the same time, NIP and Raise Your Edge, they are about 6-7 points, global points behind Knights. So it's super tight between all those 3 teams right now.
Definitely is. We've got 5 games coming at you today, as we just previously saw there for Phase 3, Day 2 of Week 3, and all of our teams are getting geared up and good to go. Some are already sat out there in the lovely ENCE that are proudly sponsoring here for Phase 3, and some of them are out here making a crap ton of noise because that's what they do whilst we're here at the desk doing our thing. So of course, looking forward into today, what are we expecting? Because of course we did see TSM and NAP show up in flying colors yesterday. Desperados, like we can see on screen at the moment, even got themselves a win at the beginning of the day. And I'm looking for a little bit more from Desperados. I think they've got the chops to do it.
I mean, they could totally do better, but after that win, it wasn't much they showed us. They got 14, 16, 9, 16 plays. What is that even?
Not a great day. Not a good day. It's not a great day for us.
I mean, let's see. They got 27 points yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
19 of those came from the first game, and then they collected another 8 points during those next 4 games. That's not good enough. Like, even if you get that win, you need to make sure that you keep on accumulating points throughout all the games.
You know what, though? It's more than 5 times as good as worst day. So it's actually pretty good in comparison. On the other hand, though, Raise Your Edge, 9 points yesterday. A third of the points Desperados got, and Desperados consider that a bad day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crimson told me they had a really bad day in the last week or previous weeks, and that turned out to be their best week with the 2 other days really good. So I really want to see them step up. And it was actually, today was an even worse day than their worst days last time, so they've broken their own worst day record.
Well, as well at home, you can join in with the hashtag AskPEL. So go over to Twitter and do that as well. And throughout the day, we're going to be answering some of those questions that you may have sent in, be it yesterday or this morning, etc. And Mr. Avenger,
yes,
the official AskPEL reader, please read this one out.
So I think it says Jazz Green here. It's AskPEL, how important for the team's performance is their fitness, mental health, coaching, and is there a noticeable difference between certain teams? I would say coaching and mental health in general, yes, of course it has a massive difference, but it's still a very kind of a young esport, and we're seeing more and more teams make a difference with additions to coaches. I think DITZ is probably the biggest one in terms of coming in with a coach that is a very experienced and very good coach in terms of that, but fitness, I don't think we can say so. In terms of fitness and everything, it will always have a difference if you compare.
Yeah.
It will always make you will have that little extra energy if you do work out, if you do eat right. But it's not really happening here, and we can see that in some of the teams in MPL actually. They used to, and some of them still have it. They have some sort of schedule. They have someone who helps them out, make sure that they have a few hours of fitness every week, and maybe some sort of eating schedule and what to eat and so on.
There's actually, it's very established in some esports where you have a nutritionist, some even have a psychologist as well, to be able to kind of aid people along their ways. And maybe that becomes kind of commonplace here as well. I know it's absolutely not right now when it comes to PUBG esports as a whole, but maybe in the future, gentlemen.
Also, when we come to like in a place where we're coming so close to where the players are very even in terms of mechanical skill and like they're reaching the like skill ceiling, like the heights that you can actually get, then the people that will be working out, working on the mental coaching and everything like that, those will be going to be the guys that's going to be putting themselves ahead of the pack.
It definitely helps. I mean, I used to be a non-gym believer, and we all know that because I put on some pounds quite a while ago. But it's when I actually got into the gym and I hated the idea. I suddenly realized, wait a minute, this doesn't drain my energy, it gives you more, as you were previously mentioning, which is a big deal.
Yeah, and the thing is, you don't need to go to the gym to do that.
Sure.
If you sit a lot at home by your computer, for example, just go out, take a 15-minute walk every day, for example. Yeah. You'll get some fresh air, you'll get that exercise that is needed for you. And I've had trouble with that before in teams I've been coaching. Literally told them, just go outside, have the 15-minute walk, and make sure to just do it. Don't cheat on yourself by not doing it.
No, absolutely. And start now if you're not already, because I regret not starting this kind of things earlier. Anyway, that is your life lesson for today. Thank you very much for the question for AskPEL. Make sure to keep sending those in. Let's get back on topic, of course, as we're going to be starting things on Miramar, I believe, to get things ready to go. We just had a little bit of a glimpse and a look into NIP, and I think that NIP could continue on the kind of track that they're currently on, Avenger.
I absolutely hope so. I mean, 54 points out of the 189, sorry. It's we're talking here, this was the 7th day of play, right?
Yeah.
And they got more than 25% of their points from just one day. Oof. It talks to how far behind they were compared to this. So them being able to do that step up like it had been done, I want to see that continue. I want to see them be in congestion for our top 5 and our top 6.
And remember that they got themselves a new analyst on the team now as well that is here and helping them out. So hopefully that will show some good results as well to the team itself. I mean, a lot of the teams, they feel like, hey, we don't really need analysts, we don't need a coach. Most of the times, if you get someone who is really good on it, it will actually help you a lot more than you actually think.
Definitely so. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, it's time. It's the first game of the day. Game number 36 here for PEL Phase 3, Week 3, Day 2, boys. Let's get into things as we head over to Pansy and Sims for all of the PUBG action.
It is indeed time for the action, and there's nothing like the irony of the desk talking about healthy living when they're up till 3 AM playing WoW constantly. That aside, it is game 1, game 36 overall, and it's Miramar to start it out. Richard, where are we looking? What are we expecting? TSM lit yesterday up. It was a phenomenal run of games, big kills, good placements. Can they repeat it? Is there other teams pushing towards that top tier spot?
There's a lot of questions there, so we'll kind of start off with how we ended it with TSM. Yes, at the moment they are in the leading spot. I tweeted about it yesterday, the road to PGC. They are carving their way there. Even by a point system, they don't want to do that. No team wants to do that and just kind of rest on hopefully getting there with what they've done in past and previous iterations and phases. Winning this one, taking the trophy, guarantees you a seat on the bus, on the plane, whatever you want, which way you want to get there, and take a crack at $2 million. When we're looking towards this map, game number 1, playing path, it's a little bit brutal if you like to loot and land over in the western side. Hence, we have FaZe down in the south. Puts them at a bit of a predicament.
It's actually FaZe up. Come on. Branding.
FaZe
branding.
down. Okay.
Think of the branding.
FaZe up, down in the south. Does that work?
You know what? We'll stick with it.
It's a bit of a rock and a hard place, though, because,
nice.
again, you have to do this trash tier level of loot. There's not too much for them to play with. Bigger issue is the fact that Na'Vi is also down there. The next circle that pops in, or the first circle that pops in,
Bing.
not too bad for them. It's quite an easy road in, but it depends what Na'Vi wants to do. Na'Vi does Na'Vi things, and time again, we see them on some sort of a main road, just waiting. They're quite good at picking up points along the way, rather than
Honestly,
waiting until the end game.
They're just quite good, aren't they?
Overall, yeah.
you can just leave it there.
It's really scary. You can't go up against them. There's the amount of times you'll see a team take a crack at them. So, okay, we can push Na'Vi, we can breach Na'Vi, or we can take a fight against them, and they lose it out in tremendous odds.
Yeah.
It's insanity. Their teamwork, their leadership, their command, their unit, everything just seems to be on point. They're a damn good team, and they're going to be scary. Moving on to PGC, I would absolutely expect them to be there.
Oh, hello.
Bjorn, good morning. Welcome to day number 2, fella.
Now, is that Jeems being further away or GamerLegion being closer to Liquid? Maybe it's just one of those kind of contested areas between the two of them, but it looks Jeems quite far out as well.
We've seen Jimbo do this a few times where he'll just overextend a little bit. If you know someone's kind of pushing their boundaries and getting a bit too overzealous, they'll have a look at the playing path. They'll have a look at how far people can get in or how late people can drop down. If he's seen that people have kind of come their way too much, for Jim, 1, it's an easy point, and 2, it clears a pathway. It makes it easier on transition later once they finish looting. They have to move.
Yeah, and I'm wondering as well down the line, and I think we'll kind of be able to see this more and more often as we watch these teams play time and time again. You get to learn the players individually a little bit more. How many of the likes of Liquid, for example, as individual players, respond to getting maybe an opening kill here or there? Or maybe just having an opening scrap that goes their way? Because they normally don't take that many early fights, if you want to talk about it, even because they rotate very early out of Picardo. They get a nice spot, they play it out. I'm wondering if they do get a nice little confidence boost, because I want to see a little bit more from Liquid, because they weren't having the best of games yesterday. They weren't bad, but they certainly weren't up to what I feel is a caliber of Liquid. So I'm wondering if they're one of those players who just kind of starts feeling a little bit more in the game, you get those early kills. And honestly, it's one of those things, and as much as it may not always equate to it at the highest level, some players do just feel the game more when they have an early start and they're just like, yeah, cool, got that under my belt, shake off that little bit of rust, because it's a new day. So I'm wondering if that might help him out a little bit. But obviously, the real-time standings show that Liquid aren't doing badly overall. Yesterday was just a little bit quiet.
Yeah, when we look at their overall standings, where do they come in? 9th position, only 25 points. It's not really a Liquid type of day. I mean, you touched on it briefly that when we look towards them, they are a team that likes to move. They won't go hunting. We have seen Jimbo hunt before when even I saw FaZe in the bus that time when they had a really long rotation. Well, for them, it's a calculated kill. If James can confirm that calculated kill, you have to remember, any given moment, that could go completely wrong. He could have responded, Beyond could have been expecting it, could have killed him himself. So you have to weigh up that cost. Liquid is not a team that likes to give up early deaths early where possible and try and take as many to the end game. Yes, we do see them in the old meme with Sam to be on his own, but if there's possibilities there, they won't take the chance.
And there they are, TSM. After the previous phase, doing okay, but certainly not brilliant. They'd had roster changes there, but coming into this, they look like a team who's just suddenly been woken up. They have that now additional firepower. We do see a bit of a fight between Seven, and it was Senya on the other side. That headshot's certainly going to quell the threat for now, give Senya time to move. Again, pretty split for Na'Vi. Maybe, I wouldn't be surprised there's people coming around on the southern side, maybe wanting to avoid Los Leones as a rotation route. So they could be expecting more people coming their way, but they will have to consolidate themselves and start looking to where they want to go. I do worry seeing Liquid central like this, for example, or any team who doesn't have to move too much, because it's easy to get folded in upon. They're a team that likes those early rotations, who are used to picking it up and moving quickly, and that's their game plan. So I wonder if they get stuck in the mud a little bit. Anyway, that aside, we do have ENCE in troubles from the Desperados. A good couple of shots came through towards SKUIJKE, and the terrain was certainly not helping him out, but it does seem as though he's made it away, so he should be safe for now. A couple of these teams in the south, anyone taking that southern rotation route will be under some maybe rotation fire, but if they're being smart about the avenues of approach they take, they're probably going to be safe.
There are a few of these teams that like to look forward at the next circle, the possibilities of where it would be, where things are going to go, how things are going to pan out. It's not necessarily just the circle. You have to be...
This is what worries me. Here we go.
Okay.
If Liquid are not moving quick enough, if they're still kind of not having their head in the game of maybe playing together, if they're doing a 2-2 split, hasn't worked out well for them. Again, one player being picked up. Ibby wasn't that close by either. I think Gemty's trying to maybe come towards support and maybe put some more of the kind of, I guess, pieces towards that side of the puzzle because they're going to be down a lot of players, but you might also have to cut your losses at this point. I'm not sure if the revive came in. I'm imagining it may have done, but at this point, it's still not a good start for Team Liquid. You wanted to get that good beginning, and no, the revive certainly has not come in. Samty's bleeding out, and Drayden should be able to pick this up for free, or whomever from the Knights wants to push for it. It's a bit of an open angle, sure, but Liquid are in no position to try and play towards that.
Their biggest strength can quite easily become their biggest weakness in the fact that they do play 2-2 splits quite often. They take a very large chunk of land, but the problem is if a full team pulls up, if you get knocked from a distance, no teammates there in a position to revive you.
And how often have we seen that these days?
We have seen it quite a lot.
Teams will push 2-2s now. They scout better, they're confident, they'll take those trades. Speaking of people being picked up, Na'Vi losing one as well, and MiseDOG was relatively away from the others, but again, maybe in a car, maybe getting picked out of it. It happens on rotations. It's not the first and it won't be the last, I can imagine.
It's these hangars and these levels of buildings that you need to be careful when you're going for the 2-2s. You just saw it for a second there. The huge ones where you can basically push it from a full 360-degree angle. And there's only certain areas that you're exposed from, the doorways, the fronts. But you have a full team rock up there. It's really hard to defend. They are big open areas, and this is why you'll find teams, even as a full roster, will consolidate themselves into one tiny little compound. These, for instance, it gives you a multitude of angles to hold and a multitude to be able to spread your team across. Yes, it's a wide open area, but players are individual. So at least you've been able to scout around what's coming at you from an open field. You can shoot, you can peacock, you can do whatever. You've just got to kind of pick your battles and choose them wisely. If you're going to take a large area of land, make sure you're defending it. And when I say defending it, you're not just sitting there and waiting for the enemy to turn up and then picking the fight. You have a good field of view. You can see what's coming towards you. You can put that pressure fire down. You can be aggressive from range and distance. Yes, you might not get a knock, you might not get a kill, but you're doing enough to keep people at arm's length.
It's nothing like the fear of being on the back of a buggy and you just hear those shots coming in. It's
Drive.
like, I am literally a meat
Drive,
shield.
friend.
It's a horrible feeling. You just got to pray your driver's being kind to you. CrowCrowd coming in quite late, but they're safe enough. Everyone will be in the circle once I think Tiikzu comes in, so no one being really punished by the circle. It was somewhat pretty central. A great deal of land, maybe a touch of water in the south, but almost none. It's pretty much anyone's game here. You do see a lot of the teams opting for very central areas, just south of Picado. That's where the most of the teams will be looking for early, because percentage-wise, it's likely to still be in the circle here. Reciprocity and Desperados, couple of shots between each other, but no one's in direct threat here. If CrowCrowd go crazy and decide to go mad into it, then maybe it's a northeast move, but not by a large margin either. Still having Los Leones in there is going to be interesting to see where that circle now moves towards.
You can see what G2's done. It's kind of paid off for now. They'll have to be quick, though, and that's why everybody's in vehicles. They go on a bit of a flex kind of split where everyone's really wide apart, and sometimes you will see the odd individual member from G2 fall early. And that's because sometimes they're just simply going up against a multitude of players versus one. But in this scenario, it does pay off. They split themselves so much that wherever the circles goes, they do have a foothold in it. This time it'll be on the bottom of Lab ND to the law consolidate, they move forward, and they're inside at least safety for now. N47, two players on the back of the bike there. TRYFFELI from distance accidentally saves them. Draws their attention away, now they've got to hit for cover. T-bone is damaged. Actually, TRYFFELI will follow up onto another one and hit him smack bang in the head. Potentially there, that bike was driving towards enemy lines, towards a different team also. So we need to keep an eye on that, watch the kill feed. Bigger picture, teams that aren't inside the circle, that have a bit of a difficult task ahead. NIP and Raise Your Edge, both going parallel to one another against Monte Nuevo. NIP are heading to the north. Raise Your Edge are trying to find an entry point into this one down south.
A Liquid still split. Oh, these guys. They're absolute heartbreakers to watch. Any Liquid fans out there are like, you guys are testing me today. You've just got Jeems out on his own. The rest kind of together, I guess Gemty and Ibby.
I think it speaks confidence, though, for me. They're not scared to do it. Yes, sometimes it will fail them.
Maybe it should be.
I mean, they're still, what, third in the overall standings?
I know,
At this point, I have no fear that they'll make it to PGC,
They'll
but
be fine.
It can be worrying, I agree. And I think when you go to that international level, There
You
are
can
other
get
teams.
real punished for that.
Look, we've seen how aggressive Korean teams can
Oh
be.
my.
Hell, rocking up with a shotgun, third circle 4. It's like
They don't even care.
Where does this even happen? They will punish it. There are scenarios where this will not work, but for now in PEL, I think it does. And I think people are kind of scared of them. They know that these individual players can frag, and generally, they know where they will hang around, and they avoid that. It's a gentleman's rule kind of scenario.
Well, we'll see how well that works out for them. I mean, again, if it improves from yesterday, that'd be great for them. Yesterday's games were not good. That's what they'll probably be aiming for if you're looking at kind of short-term solutions. Anyway, let's look beyond that. NIP did have a little bit of a scuffle previously. A couple of shots. I think it was CrowCrowd they were maybe fighting up towards against. There was a team that had a couple of pot shots back and forth between them, but I've liked how NIP have been playing. I was quite surprised that I think it was TSM who actually bested them in that situation. Yes, MBS had that Orm yesterday, so I liked how they split that little hillside, and we did kind of highlight that it always could come down to just a really good play coming out from the opposition, even though tactically they did have the advantage. But I want to see more from that from NIP. I like that sort of look, and I think maybe people were questioning if they could still be as potent without the absolute plethora of nades that they previously were able to keep, but they've certainly been able to keep up to pace. Anyway, it looks like Raise Your Edge have worked their way in on the southern side of things, not too far away from one of the FaZe members. Ubah there gets in the vehicle, going to head off. He does have some supporting fire, I'm pretty sure, but will use that lower side of the hill to try and occlude the vision, maybe move around a little, as N47 grow ever closer towards the Desperados. So you've got to be a little bit careful here with those lines of sight.
I'll touch really quickly on the teams that are looking to reset after yesterday's performances. Raise Your Edge, 9 points down at the bottom in 16th, 12 points for them in 15th. Rec and Digital Athletics, 15 and 16 regardless, 14, 13. Any of those teams sitting happy? Okay, DA's good, 7's good. Raise Your Edge, where are you boys? Still outside the circle. Play Your Edge at the moment. The south will be an actually fairly easy entry point. They can either go Los Leones and play.
Have a look at ENCE's split here. What do you make of that? I think that's quite nice considering.
Where am I looking? Where am I looking?
Down towards the south, just towards the
okay, so
western
that's going
side.
to be
I like it because you're expecting not many people to sit towards Los Leones.
That'll be the garages, right? So
Yeah,
it's
and
like
I
the
think
garages
G2
just
normally
below it.
play towards Leones on the outskirts of it occasionally if they still play like last season. I'm wondering if they go towards that. They have had roster changes, so I don't think I can really kind of call them the same side anymore. But
N47's just pulled up on G2, as you've touched on it. They've gone to the back side, so just on the southern, the northern edge. I'm actually seeing still going, so they've been warned, but this is the point where we get to where everyone's just crossing
oh wait,
paths.
we've got a crash. Hold on, Rich. It's the Knights just fully sending it in. That was a little bit reckless. Thankfully, Reels was able to catch Fex in the heels. Now GamerLegion are just down to one. Bit of a sloppy battle with this one. Drayden there, not ideal at all, and the Knights have suffered huge casualties. This is not what I expected from these sides. I don't know if the scouting was wrong, the information was just maybe not there, but this hasn't benefited either. Wanted's going to bleed out. I doubt Reels can save him by any means here, and now it's just going to go snake mode and try and play for the late game, see if you can hop some placements, but what a weird bit of play coming out.
You touched on the end split. Unfortunately, it didn't fare well for them. You also mentioned G2, these two teams that were kind of kicking it around Los Leones as well. Unfortunately, M47, they tried to find a home. They went straight into G2. G2 battered them off, says, no, we're here, and then ran into the two members of ENCE. Now they're left with the two dudes in garages just below the massive building as you come out, or enter Los Leones, should I say. And M47 have residency. It's quite central. It's a decent position to be in this circle. Generally speaking, this will be rough. On the next transition, there's no more hard cover really, apart from playing the backside of a hill. Where you go from this, you probably die in transition. It'll be extremely hard. TSM should pick off a point on that one. I doubt... Ooh, actually, no, excuse me. I didn't realize he had his teammate with him. Unless he gets tapped in the back and someone can see him from the hillside, because they do have
Blue, they've got to move as well.
potential angle.
Yeah, TSM, as much as that was a really nice spot for Iroh, it's not one that he can sit in. He's going to have to get moving, maybe rejoin the rest of his teammates, and they couldn't quite find a deep enough angle to connect towards the players getting the revive. You saw how close it was. Maybe Michael or Rory did have a glimpse, but not enough to be able to confirm the knock. So
Is he overextending?
CrowCrowd on the way. They're going to have to get themselves into this. Vazku going to try and keep G2 somewhat stuck into those positions, keep the fire coming down, allow them a little bit more room to make the peaks. The northern side, it looks like TSM has won the polar north sort of position, I guess you could argue, as CrowCrowd takes more of a western swing on the circle just south of Picado, but it's not without fire. Big spray, and that looks like the front tire might have just gone. That was a very, very sharp turn there from NOOKIE, and this is some nice controlled shots from Michael connecting that far away, a couple of them coming through, but again, TSM can't get tunnel visioned on this.
they have to make it worth its pointage, right? They've been here for so long and they've been committed to this fight. Circle has been favorable to them. What I will not say is that staying here for now may cost them dearly in the fact that 2 players are committed to this one fight. Reciprocity is directly behind them on the hillside. Should they throw a few grenades, should they get aggressive, they could literally take TSM from 4 players down to 2.
Well, that's a very unhealthy looking buggy there. Yeah, time to get out and try and do something with it. But sadly for G2, it's just everyone's piling in on it. There's 3 points to be had, and NIP get a little bit of a slice of it, as to TSM. So again, somewhat of a similar look as TSM and NIP just kind of piling in and getting these kills early on. I like this. Again, very proactive games from these players and these teams. Michael, they're going to find Tiikzu, so taking several fights on several fronts and succeeding in them. Points galore and beautiful control there. Reconnecting the shots as all the teams try and find their way in on the extremities. Playing that slow side of the circle as Na'Vi going to be coming around on the northwest side. Past GamerLegion, you may have DA maybe getting a couple of glimpses. They do open up some shots, but not really to get too many connections, more to ward them away from the building. But here we go. NIP not without an answer.
Now they have to make it outside the fields, and there's several members will be holding them back. Border Patrol is real. Desperados, G2, TSM, N47 if you want to go deeper into it. NIP are going to have a rough run of this one. Might be forced to use the utility or even lose the vehicles at some point.
FaZe are getting
out.
very close as well.
Can he connect with this one? If he does, it'll be dangerous.
Yeah, but he's got a vehicle which is next to him, so he's going to be forced out either way. If the nade came through, the car would explode, and he'd have been dead. He was forced to fight. NIP playing it well. They hold the line. They control it. They force G2 to go down very early. FaZe being forced towards 7 on the southern side of this. The blue will be on their back soon enough. Razor Edge sending it on the east. They're heading just past these N47 down there. They're actually heading right towards it. That could be a big battle here as Aduzi and Senya try and stem the bleed, slow down the pace, and maybe get a couple of shots back. But DA want in on the action. Aduzi did find Reels, who was the last man standing for the Knights from that earlier scuffle. And here's Razor Edge. They decided to opt to come quite close to this. Maybe a risky maneuver, but also the terrain doesn't allow much more maneuvering beyond that. FaZe still yet to make it in. They have to move forward. The smokes are down. The wall's up. It's time to try and make the play, get closer. Sadovnik, Buster, they're all there. They're all waiting and watching.
Just note how FaZe has actually smoked this as well. They put the smokes up against the buildings to deny line of sight. Rather than hide themselves, they've actually shielded all of 7. They have no idea. Those smokes make a hell of a lot of noise as well. Yes, it's dissipating, but it's given them enough time to make it to the garage compound. All that noise, they'll have no idea where FaZe is going to be located. They'll be just kind of shooting fish in a barrel here, hoping to land something. The grenades could be excellent. It's done a little bit of damage, not too much. Doesn't find contact straight away, but...
Oh, Buster, no one appreciates this.
It's give them the time they needed to get close.
Yeah, but losing mxey here isn't ideal. It's just pressure from afar. Yeah, it's DA. That's a bit of a nice shot. Good couple of 100 meters on that. Buster is just waiting. First bit of contact. Door opens. It's game time. Oh, the hip fire is sublime. He goes back for more, but now he's under pressure. People in the building. The hip fire again. He can't convert on the second, and it's a shutdown on towards FaZe. Not able to take this compound as swiftly as they'd like at all. Down to just Aitzy standing, and 7 still hold the numbers. The hip fire is good. The FPS may not be, but it's a cleanup there. FaZe were forced to move in. They had to take that fight in that moment. There was no two ways about it. And 7 just held good positions. They didn't get overly anxious. They didn't make crazy plays. They waited patiently, and FaZe had to push towards them.
It's always a little bit brutal when you're trying to do something like that. You're backbuilding all of this push to make something happen. And then from nowhere, a bullet just hits you. Ubah went down. He wasn't. mxey went down. He wasn't instantly confirmed, which means they had no further line of sight for DA. But the knock does the damage. It takes a member out. It causes chaos. And then with the smokes themselves, not knowing where Buster is, just hiding inside the building. It was a good hip fire onto Fuzzface. He goes down afterwards. Oh, that tire's just flipped right in front of him.
James is alone here. Ibby is off to a different angle, so James is basically his own player. He can't do much beyond that. Ibby's gone down. Nice little turn. Coming out, raise your edge. Big performance. That's a huge push through from them. Really decisive. Incredibly powerful considering they were put under the gun there. They weren't in the advantageous position at all. And you can see the Desperados want to get in. TomiL, really nice control, not to overextend on that, as tempting as it may be. Jemty still stands way further away. He was nowhere near that battle. He was over by reciprocity, but now Desperados need to consider the circle position. It's time to move.
Which does make you raise the question of how that fight would have gone down should Jempty have been there. You know, having 3 men together as opposed to 2 that have to fight the full oncoming force. All right, you might be able to catch them individually, but once they all just plow down upon you, it's how many bullets, how many times you got. I need to hold up here. Desperado's making a desperate push. This is going straight for the compound.
SIMSY's really gone far here.
Be lucky in the fact that there's a 2-2 split. If all the members are committed to this push, they might get away with it, but it's really, really messy. Individual players like this are going down.
It looks so disjointed. Maybe a misread, maybe a miscall there from SIMSY, because the other 2 pulled up just down the ridge side. It hasn't gone any better for Calvin Klein, but maybe they could have worked together on that. That's going to be punished. TomiL didn't put up that far, and neither did Calvin Klein. I don't know if that was maybe their response. Maybe TomiL should have crashed it with them, but whatever it was, that miscommunication has cost them. Down in 12th now, the Desperados fall down relatively early.
Flashbang.
Reciprocity still in a good position here. Keep that in mind. TSM and NIP always seem to be so close by, but I think NIP are already dwindling in numbers. They're only down to Vard, so he's just trying to hold on, do what he can. Na'Vi fall in 10th. We're down to 9 teams remaining.
TSM, NIP scuffle. I think there's only 1 player left on NIP. This should be easy job done. Grenade
Vard.
goes off.
It was a nice try.
It was. The flashes were there. Rage are also here on the corner.
They're pulling up on this. Rory's knocked already, so TSM are actually down to very limited numbers. Iroh's still standing. He's holding this. Can Michael join in as well? They're looking for the next player. mxey is there. He goes over the ridge. He's going to see 1 knock. Does he get thirsty or will he play it calm? mxey with the nade. This is really nice play, but Iroh's on the other side. Michael finds him. TSM staying alive for now. Rory's still knocked, but he can be saved. mxey goes down and Raise Your Edge. I think they're down to 1 player here, and he ain't that close by. Coldamenta way off in the hillside. Michael's open to it, but I think the spot just came out. Or it may be another third party, but the revive can definitely come in for Rory, and TSM can keep 4 standing.
They need to make it quick, though, because that blue is going to be pushing, and it'll start to hurt. Meanwhile, let's flip our vision now down to the south. Mert confirms 1, Sadovnik insta-flushed. See you later, buddy. Buster looking for more. AKM up close and personal with a red dot. It will get the job done, but he needs to find these players first. Flashbang from the off angle gets the job.
That's a really nice angle. They got to push this, and they are. This is good decisive play from DA, going to make the play. Buster goes down, but look at that ridgeline. It's the death squad from above. That's a really nice angle to be playing with, but DA do have the low ground, and they're in the circle. So as much as this may look very, very treacherous, there isn't a huge rush on making the play up that hill. They can maybe try and find a new way around it, but it doesn't look like they've got much. And Edelweiss's position could just screw over DA if they try to make that push.
They can't push up for the simple fact of where Vazku is. He'll hold a really deep angle and have a line of sight there. I'm assuming he's holding a mini. Reciprocity have problems of their own. They have the information, I believe, that CrowCrowd has just turned up. All right, it's only 2 members, but it could cause them problems late game should TSM want to make an advantageous push onto this while the fight goes down.
And I'm wondering if anyone goes crazy and just sends it into the middle of this, if they have a vehicle left, because look at the positioning on the circle.
Oh,
it's all
pushing
extremities.
this.
DA's on the push. This is nice. This is a big play. If they can isolate Ivor here, that's incredible, but I don't know if they're going to check on it. It's a really deep angle to look over for. Raise Your Edge lose out on their last player, Coldamenta. He was way off towards the blue on his own, unable to make much more of that. His teammates tried to crash towards TSM, and well, TSM are up for the fight. Edelweiss, last man alive for 7. Got a kill for himself already, but now left to be the snake.
Looks like you're wearing a big old coat as well, which is surprising when you see them all wearing the yellow clothing to try and blend in. So he'll be standing out on the sandbanks. Either way, hiding behind 2 cars, hoping someone oversteps their boundaries, then they can inject himself into the fight. Bit of a stalemate on either side of the map. TSM, Reciprocity, northern side, down south, M47, DA, but with the circle, it will probably force the engagements whether they like them or not. Still, Vazku and Page holding those deeper back angles if someone wants to try and make something happen. Finally, he's found. Good spot from ABeautflDeath. I also like that M47 haven't instantly just jumped the gun there, heard the fight, and then committed to it. They've held back for now. DA, though, if they're not too careful, M47 could be held back. Yes, it's an open run, but they don't want to let DA get ahead of them.
I like the positioning between Page and Ivor here. Ivor basically watches for anyone silhouetting on the hill, and I'd hope that Page can see the push on the other side of it, but you'd also imagine they wouldn't make the play on that because it's very open to everyone else on the opposing side. But look at this new circle. It's pretty vile for most teams. The only one player in it right now is Udia for Reciprocity. Just on the edge of the building, it's pretty much splitting the road here. So This circle could be the downfall for plenty of teams. 5 seconds on the move. It's going to force the fights, and DA want to get in on it. Page gets the attention. I'm waiting to see if Ivor gets into it. Did he get spotted? I think he might have done. But again, it's a very hard angle to clear out, and that's what they need to complement here for N47. They need to support that player, and now it should be game on. They can get the vehicles and move. This is the best idea for DA now.
I like this. Get your counts and go, boys. Just leave them to it. They've knocked one. They've caused a little bit of damage. Leave the rest of them to argue amongst themselves. Scoom steps out. Does he step up? TSM, their damage. They've hit the only kind of bit of cover that they could have done. It might not fare too well because they're going to be open from several different angles. NOOKIE comes across. Shiv still holding the top of that building. Wouldn't be surprised if he was upstairs on the roof, to be fair. TSM, they'll try and hit the res here, but they're in very, very open waters as soon as M47. I mean, thankfully, M47's attention's drawn. See you later, Misa. CrowCrowd 6th place, and indeed, Shiv was on the roof.
Yeah, TSM trying to go into recovery mode here. DA's playing really well, by the way. I know we like to kind of discredit them a lot, and we'll be very critical of them. But so far, they're playing well, and they're playing way more aggressive. I like the move with the cars. They're losing on players now because all the teams on the outskirts are forced to fight. Now, if DA can just stay alive, I know we don't often ask them to do so because they're normally quite a passive team. That could have been great for them not to be the case. And you can see TSM, who made a similar move, going to fall as well. Or at least be down to very few players. It's a very similar situation. They had to make the play. This was always going to be somewhat of a reciprocity circle.
Good nade.
Just purely from positioning. Iroh's still got a fight in him, though. He's going to punish Scoom, and the Blues are going to be moving in now. That's going to make it a bit more tricky. N47 still has players in the south. You have T-Bone and Vazku towards the south. Now in the north, TSM trying to get players back up, and they've done just that. Now Reciprocity actually have their backs to the blue, so maybe TSM can punish, but they're holding on to such limited cover.
Shiv's job here is just to A, feed information to the rest of his players to do damage, and B, keep everyone at bay. Keep everyone under check. N47's a bigger issue once they leave this compound. Yes, you do have TSM, but it stops. They could avoid TSM. They could flood it to the west and maybe run this gauntlet. But the problem is that N47's positioning holds them back from doing so. If Shiv can get a knock onto one of those players, it then opens up another avenue of approach. Udyr has overstepped his boundary. He's evacuated the building and is mobile. And you know what? It's getting the job done. This is perfect. Find that one N47 player. There's only one more left. And now this allows them to move. This gives them breathing space and gives them a fighting chance against TSM, who is deeper in the circle.
The thing is, for Vazku, there's a little ridge on that side of the road that he can maybe move up to and be safe, so he could be the last man standing, even though there's two teams with 3 players on one and 4 on the other, so he could be a real nuisance if he's got time to move up and just prone down and wait for the fight to happen. Reciprocity have very little cover to play with, as the TSM. You have to fight this out. There's no space to be had anymore, and Scoom is on the punish, as is Udyr. Iroh is the first casualty of this fight. Nice nade comes in. Scoom's down to nothing. That could have been a double for Michael, and that would have been everything even. Everything kind of evened out. Vazku now looking into the action. Does he try and get a third party in, or are the smokes keeping these players safe? Michael is on babysitting duty. Has to look across the field. Has to keep these boys humble. Forced to fight, and there comes Vazku in on the action. A 7-kill game overall as well for N47. Big numbers, but Michael is still there, holding this one down for TSM.
He's doing such a good job. That nade has caused chaos for them now. It puts Scoom out of the game to get the res back onto Monkey. The problem is they are back on the feet now. We can talk about how good the grenade was and everything else about it, but remember, the grenades don't do any kind of...
Rich, the molly, that could have been so good if it was a little bit further forward. Scoom seeing all this, he wants to spray. He's just trying to do the damage, but Iroh's actually got his number and the Blues on his back. This is purely just an absolute bloodbath between the two. Scoom and Monkey combine, though, and it's down to Michael. Vazku is off in the distance. He needs to get the timing right if he wants to get in on the fight. Michael gets the damage, but now he's under pressure from so many angles. Nothing to be done. A steal for Vazku as he's left with nothing more to be done. Reciprocity. For a second, I thought TSM might have stolen that, or N47, but no. They held on well, they took the fights, and they got the kills that mattered.
For me, that also speaks a bit of a louder picture when we look towards utility and the old fights that we used to see. Michael gets that one grenade, which knocks an initial player. He doesn't know how much damage he doesn't even know it's done any damage to Scoom whatsoever. It could have been the 2-for-1. If they'd have been plowed with all the grenades in the world, they could have launched it forward. But with how many other fights they've been leading to that point, that was a lot of utility that was committed to the cause. They did put up a damn good job to at least to get in that position from where they were. They were playing with only a mere ridgeline. You've got Shiv, cat on a hot tin roof, just laying waste to people from a distance. It was a damn good fight, and it was a damn good job, but ultimately, his Reciprocity will come out on top. You know what? It looks like Sam's in the booth. We'll throw it down to her for an interview with the boys.
Heading on over to Reciprocity over here. The chicken dinner winners for the first day. Gents, let's have a chat about the hardships of the circle tended to work in your favor, but right at the end they walked me through that fight with TSM.
We knew they were 4 and we killed one of them, so we knew at the end it was a 4v3v1. And we were just clearing our side, smoking in front of us, just creating space for the circle. They were kind of stuck there, like we had more circle advantage on them, and just played it safe. They did get a couple of good nades, which kind of got a little bit scary. If they had more nades, they could have actually flushed us, but it worked out. We played pretty safe, pretty passive until late game.
Did you know that the N47 player was hanging around there? Because some of us were a little bit concerned. Oh, there we go. You're nodding at me, so...
Ubah actually called, like, specifically marked him that he was across the road on that spot. So once we knew the positions, it's easy to play it out. Yeah.
Let's chat a bit about the change of lineup here. So this was a thing coming into this phase. You changed the lineup. Has everyone settled now? Are we going to start seeing some more chicken dinners from you?
I think we haven't settled yet. I think like the whole atmosphere and the vibe is really good. Like it's incredible in my opinion. Like the best lineup I've had in terms of how we interact in and outside the game in both like fun aspect and also serious aspect. And I think we still have more potential. Like we're just learning to play with each other and it's clicking well and there's a future for sure.
It's the middle of the week, so let's have a little bit of fun, right? Because TSM was saying that they're going to be playing better because they've stopped eating kebabs and they've started some healthy living. Do you have any dietary suggestions for them to improve so that they can beat you next time?
I mean, I know Michael loves his chicken kebab. He got one sick in Romania, so stick to that and maybe we can catch up to them. Yeah.
We're just going to have food banter for the rest of the day. We're going to head on over to the desk now to wrap up this game.
What would we do without Scoom? What would we do? Reciprocity get themselves a victory on the board here for Miramar as they push themselves further throughout the table as a whole. Very cool to hear as well the fact that they are feeling it when it comes to the atmosphere in their team, gentlemen. Very nice to hear that not only in the game, but also outside the game that they're doing well.
I have something to add to their win, actually.
Okay.
They're now official member of Chicken Dinner World Tour.
Oh, they got all
yes.
maps. Oh, nice.
They got a win on every map
Fantastic.
right now.
Yeah.
The second team, the first team was FaZe Clan, and now Reciprocity is the second one to join that club.
The exclusive club.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming about 7-8 teams will only be able to do that. I doubt that we're going to be able to have more than maybe only 6 teams. We'll see. We'll play by Reciprocity all. And like as Scoom said, how important having synergy outside of the game, and it really shows in game. It shows how in sync they are. They're playing 2 and 2. You can see when they moved out as well, how they were moving out and cleaning as 2. They're making sure if one of these guys gets got, if one of us gets knocked, we're able to pick up the guy again. And
yeah,
it just shows really, really well that they're able to keep 4 guys alive. Of course, they did have a compound here, but the late game, especially against TSM, really showed how well they were able to play.
Let's take a look at the highlights here from our first game of the day, and we had a very central circle. One thing that was interesting to note was that liquid split to get things going.
Yeah, so we saw them going, sending out 2 guys, Mortar self taking out some compounds, and we know that sometimes CA would be close to those compounds, but it just shows that Liquid, they want to have more dominance, they want to have more control over the map, making sure that if we need to rotate out of here, we're gonna have this space free for us.
Yeah.
No one's gonna be here, no one's gonna be shooting at us, no one's ambushing us. This is our territory.
And also Reciprocity being able to gatekeep N47. Actually, I was surprised that N47 were not able to get 2 guys down there to the road. If they were, they might have been able to third-party the fight a little bit better because they had the kind of the perfect angle for it. Because TSM and Reciprocity they were putting themselves in positions to really counter each other. But here with 3 Molotovs from
3
Scoom,
mollies, yeah.
that really put in a kind of lit up the fight, if you know what I mean.
I mean, as you can see there wasn't too much cover to work with.
Yeah.
Reciprocity used the smokes to create those kind of soft walls to work with there.
Right, and also TSM, they were running out of smoke, so they had no smokes left, so they were working with 2 smokes only in the end, so they didn't have as much space and didn't create enough space for themselves because when they sent it to the middle there, like outside the compound of Reciprocity, they had to use all their smokes to defend themselves.
And at the same time, though, great initiative, I feel, by Reciprocity, who had the compound for so long, but knew when it was time to move out of that compound and gain themselves space, they did so pretty effectively.
Yeah, but I mean, they also had Shiv up on the rooftop there.
Yeah.
Let's grabbing his way up there, using all the game mechanics you can to get that upper hand and making sure that you have the upper hand to win the fight against the toughest opponent on the map for them.
And he had so much control over the map there and overall over the players as well.
Reciprocity with 20 points out of that first place spot. Very well done by them. But N47, guys, just continues to impress me and impress me as games go on.
Even without a win still.
Yes, even without a win.
And they're continuing to be up there consistently. But it must be like, how can they be, like no chicken dinner in so far?
And they're
like,
still 6th, like,
it's so impressive.
But look at this though, they had even more damage than Reciprocity in this game.
Yep.
And we saw that Reciprocity, they were playing in that compound, so they had safe cover to work with and just peek around. They also had a lot of open ground around them. M47 on the other hand, they had to rotate a little bit, they were playing in the open.
Yeah.
Still, also a lot of people shoot, but not as much cover to work with.
Very interesting to see how that actually played out in the end, and that of course is our first Miramar done. And we've had a bit more edge level circles when it comes to like far west side, far east side. Not too many of our direct middle circles when it comes to Miramar. So for me, it was kind of a nice change of pace, a little bit more chill throughout the mid game.
And often what we see as well, when we have these central circles here, we often see more kind of yoinks in the middle of like our 3rd, 4th, and 5th circles. Then we tend to see more hard shifts. They kind of jump, kind of bounce in between, some ping pong in between the next circles.
Yeah,
Which is nice to see as well, because that really creates a challenge for some of these teams, and they position themselves extremely well to get kills. Exactly like N47 did. They were on an edge position for some time, positioned themselves to put out a lot of damage, took on the fight with DA as well, and managed to sweep that whole side, southeastern side there.
Interesting note, after the results coming in from that game, there's been a shift in our top 5.
Ooh.
N47, with those points coming in, has pushed themselves above G2 for their spot. And again,
without any wins.
Without any wins, and it bears repeating, this team came in from the promotion relegations and is now in 5th place after 3 and a bit weeks.
So I was talking with them before the phase started, and they were saying, hey, our goal here for this phase is to end on top 8. I'm like, that's not good enough.
You're not going to go to PGC with that?
No, well, of course, it's going to be hard for them to get to PGC. They're going to need to win the phase overall. And I feel like that might be a little bit of a stretch. But I was telling them, you should aim for at least top 5. That's the potential you have in this team.
And also, the money starts at top 8. But it begins to become like a lot more fun in the top 4, top 5, and progressively more fun the further you get up there. And obviously, I mean, they're only 79 points away from 1st place. Right. I know the other teams are playing extremely well, but wouldn't it be a dream to see these kind of underdogs come in and win the whole phase and take a PGC spot from one of our bigger teams? That would be insane.
If they could start getting wins on their board, they could definitely make something happen when it comes to shaking things up. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Short break now before we get into game number 2. But before we do that, let's hear from one of the big 5. It's Nabi.